So do you think people are really overreacting about this Astrobot game? Like, is it really Game of the Year material? I mean, it's what they're saying. And if you look at the Metacritic score and things of that nature, you'll see that this game is really high. I think on Metacritic right now, it's like a 94. And so that makes you wonder, like, is this just the Sony fanboys pushing this game over? And honestly, like, why not? Like, this is their opportunity to have a new mascot, something that actually represents PlayStation. And you would look at Xbox, PlayStation, and it does seem like both of them are kind of void of a mascot. Astrobot was given that opportunity just because of how great the other games were. And yet we never even got a full game outside of the VR one, which so many people were unable to experience. For me personally, that caused me to actually buy a VR, which was a big mistake because Astrobot was the only really good game on there. I digress. My point is, though, is when you think about Nintendo, you think about Mario, you think about Link and Zelda, even Kirby to an extent. Either way, all of those properties, though, have had games come out recently that I think we can look to and say, yeah, that's Nintendo. You go to Sony, you kind of have Horizon Forbidden West, you sort of have God of War. I think God of War is probably the closest that Sony has, and it has some more recent games. It's a little bit more divisive, and then you go to like Xbox, and I don't even know what is Xbox anymore besides Game Pass. I mean, let's be honest, Xbox's new mascot should just be like a Game Pass brochure, you know? And that's no hate, by the way. I love Xbox, and I love Game Pass. I actually play my Xbox probably every day for a little bit. And typically I am a Nintendo Switch gamer. By the way, if you are new here and you're just checking out something different, welcome. Yes, typically I cover Nintendo Switch games, but have been recently getting into PlayStation. And of course, like I said, I play Xbox. I don't talk about it as much, but I love all games. I honestly don't really have a team that I go for. I just like talking video games. So by the way, if you are new or whatever, please hit that like and subscribe button, especially if you're into a video game channel that is actually done by an amateur. I will never be one of those that goes off on whose side I'm on, not paid by anyone, obviously. I don't go into the rumors, the leaks, or any of the drama. No, I just like talking about games. So let's talk about Astrobot and this new release. Like I said, it dropped last night at midnight, and I have been playing it a lot more than I should. Considering I am an adult man and I should probably be worried about other things other than a new video game. But that's not the point. The point is do we have Game of the Year material here? And honestly, I have to say, I think so. And this is not a shot at Astrobot, by the way. But when I compare it to all the other games that have come out so far, it's not a strong field, right? I mean, I think we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which personally I haven't played, so I can't speak to it, but I do think that that should definitely warrant Game of the Year, everything I've seen, and of course, I played the remake. I just haven't gotten to Rebirth yet, but my experience with the first one was amazing, and so, yeah, I expect that to be up on that level. And honestly, looking past that, I'm like, what else did we really get this year so far? There hasn't been a huge game. So there's not a lot of competition right now with Astrobot. Now, again, that's not to take away from the game. I'm actually showing you guys the first level of the game. I don't want to give too much away. But you can just see, like, graphically speaking, it's beautiful. This game is gorgeous. Controls, of course, they are perfect. What this team did, and I think they had this opportunity to basically put themselves on the map. There are some of us who are very familiar with Astrobot. When you got the PlayStation 5, you got like that tech demo that came with it. It was like the only free game that was given with the PlayStation 5. And so a lot of us ended up playing that, namely because we just spent a butt ton of money on a PlayStation 5 and probably a game and didn't have a lot of other options. But my point is it was great. It's fantastic. And I think one of the things that many people walked away with after playing that demo is, I wish this was a full game. I wish there was more to Astrobot. And to be clear here, the actual tech demo was pretty lengthy, honestly, but the developers had this opportunity to really stake their claim, to put their mark on the gaming map. And I think most people would have probably seen the pressures of this and tried to add everything in, tried to take it a much more grandiose direction. But they actually did the right thing, if you ask me, and they just gave us more of what we wanted. As I played, like I said, hours into this game, hours and hours, it just builds upon what was already there. Those of us who are familiar with Astrobot could tell you that, like in the VR game, they already had this formula that worked really well. The way that they design levels, the way that everything is set up, the way they integrate the controller in with just puzzles and gameplay in general is really next level. Then you combine that with gorgeous graphics and big epic boss fights, and you have a fantastic game. A game that I think most people are going to say, I want to play that. And again, they kind of just went back to what they were good at and just gave us more of what we already enjoyed with Astrobot. Again, if you hadn't played the VR game, I think that really showed the epicness, if you will, of how great some of these boss battles can be. Even Astro's Playroom honestly had a lot of those moments where you were kind of taken back by exactly just how interactive this game felt. So you have all of that combined, and like I said, there was one easy way to screw that up, and that's to try to change the formula, to try to do something bigger and better in your eyes. And I could see a lot of companies doing that, but that's not what they did. Like I said, this game just reminds me of the other Astrobot games I've played, which is not a bad thing at all. In fact, I would say this is exactly the right thing to do, because it's just building on, again, what was already there. I can definitely see this game winning Game of the Year, just based on everything that's in the game, let alone all the other outside factors. Like I said, not a lot of strong games came out this year so far, and we'll see how that looks, come December. But also the fact that this might be the opportunity for PlayStation to solidify a mascot. There would be this narrative around that I think would be pretty popular amongst the video game journalists and a lot of the people who vote on this stuff, just because it's a story, right? Like, if we don't hear anything about like a Switch 2 or even just some bigger game being announced, they're going to need some stories to latch onto, and I think that one is one. But I'm not trying to take away from Astrobot itself, because like I said, the game is really good. If this game came out on any other system, I would still be saying, yes, this could be Game of the Year. And for me, it's really high up there, if not number one in that spot. If I was going to look at every game I've played that's come out, although I do have to say I would probably be disappointed if Baldur's Gate didn't win, or even Final Fantasy Rebirth. But I think too that there is something that Astrobot offers that a mass majority of gamers haven't gotten anymore. If you haven't been a Switch user, you haven't really played these kind of real fun, silly platformers. When you look at the story of Astrobot, this game is essentially you are flying around on PlayStation 5, and an alien just comes in and steals your core or something. I don't know what part that was of the PlayStation 5. And all of the bots go flying, and you have to basically rescue all your bot friends and end up getting that core back from the alien. Like, that's the story, right? Like, there isn't some deep, complex thing going on. There isn't this massive amount of upgrading and grinding you gotta do. There's no end of the world or political things going on in the game. None of that. It's really just a silly, fun game. And I think that is something that a lot of these systems need right now. I mean, there's a reason why people love Spyro and Crash and Banjo-Kazooie, all of them. And so for them to kind of take a backseat, and we've been inundated with a number of RPGs, shooters, first-person shooters, of course, the hero shooters, games as a service, all of that stuff has been just dumped on us repeatedly. That, like, silly, fun platformer style of game has basically been lost unless you play the Switch. And even then, there is a little bit of that kind of going away too. When you look at, like, the most recent Legend of Zelda games, or even Mario in general, they've basically been pushing on that, like, RPG side of things. Sure, we got Mario Wonder, which is a fantastic game and still has that aspect to it. I'm just saying that I think that more of these games needed to come out, and so this has the opportunity to make that big splash, and I think they did it right. Everything about this game is great. You can't knock it for anything, honestly. I've never had performance issue, no crashes, nothing like that. It's also gorgeous. It's incredibly fun. Some of the puzzles are really fun. The way that you can break down the environments, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a really great game. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on Astrobot. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think it deserves or will get Game of the Year? Do you have a PS5? Are you interested in picking this game up? Anything and everything in the comment section is much appreciated. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.